Folks without homes, living out in the street. You're at a bookstore, and the drug habits sick. They just can't reach. Love is what they seems to be saying. I'm just testing out the quality, y'all. But you been, but if somebody come on out to pray for you. But you been my protection every step of the way. My condolences for the families that have suffered a loss. I want y'all to keep the Wimberly family in your prayers. Keep us in your prayers. I'm praying for strength and comfort. FTCC bookstore phone number. Teaching moments. If you went to the bookstore, contact us. Yeah, go back to contact us. Did I get out of it? Go back to contact us. Oh, shoot, I went to the. Click on. Yeah, that one. Right. And then right there. Yeah. You may have to call and just get the number from like this. Yeah, call it. Put it on the speakerphone so we can. Yeah, we're gonna have to go directly to the bookstore. See how much.
Thank you for calling Fayetteville Technical Community College. You have reached the admissions office.
No, we need a bookstore.
We must have the following.
I have to go to the
CFNC application, residency determination service, and career assessment. And official
I got the number by heart right here. Let me see if I look it up. Do I got it?
A joint service transcript for military students, placement testing.
So y'all let me know how the quality is, because this is Maury's computer that he got for $50. It's going pretty good. He's gonna use this for his school.
Admissions application, press 1. Placement and evaluation,
No.
press 2. Transcript,
Listen.
press 3. Success coaches
How
and
y'all doing?
counselors, press 4. And to speak with a representative, press 5. And thank you for calling.
Speak with a representative, press 5. Let's see if we can get it. Who we got?
Estimated wait time is 1 minute.
If God says yes, when God says yes, you don't let nobody tell you no. There'll be obstacles. Is there a way you can transfer us to the bookstore?
Yeah.
Is there a number? Thank you. Hey, how y'all doing? This is another teaching moment. He's at FTCC now. So we're calling numbers and trying to teach him how to speak on his own whenever he has an issue. Yeah, so you got to learn how to do that in life, because you ain't gonna have nobody here to articulate. Not like who was that? Moses had a speech impairment. There you go. Ask about the book.
Hi, my name is Mark Kimmy. Kimmy, like, how much is the book?
What book? What class?
Like I'm like in an art class. How much is it, man?
What number? I need the course and the number.
It's 111. Okay.
Find out about the book. Got to have it up.
Just.
You're doing good. I understand this, but you gotta you can't just be like book.
No.
They gotta know what book now.
Yes.
I'm in the Art 111 class, and I need to know how much is the book for that class. You can't just be like, "Hello, ma'am, I need a book." What book do you need?
I said, how much is the book?
Yeah, how much is the book? But what book? How do they know what book you're talking about?
She said, what book?
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to teach you. You gotta know what book. You can't just be like, "Hey, I need a part for my car, just a part." What part do you need? There's 1,000 parts to a car. I'm just using that as an example. So 148 for the book. Okay, is there like any
148.
is there like any book credit or anything he can use, or does he have to pay that out of pocket? These okay, if he has financial aid, is there like a credit? I remember whenever I was going there, there was like
It's
a book credit.
148. That's how much it is. 148.
They still working on. I'm just saying, is it a book credit if you have financial aid? Okay, that's what I was wondering. So they working on that. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, you can hang up. Yeah, so they're working on your financial aid. They made a mistake, and we had to call today, like we've been calling. That's how it'll be. Sometimes there'll be things that happen. You think you covered the bases because you went through, and before the classes started, well, we was on the phone. We called financial aid. We called the school. We talked to the registrar. Everybody said everything was good, and then all of a sudden, when the class get ready to start, his classes get kicked out again for the second time, and I got to now exhibit patience because when somebody wants something so bad and they did everything to check the boxes, and then somebody on the other end still done a mistake or whatever the case happened, I was like, man, this is a mistake on you guys' end that y'all need to fix because he done been kicked out of classes. He can't even start his classes. So they're working on fixing it, but that's what'll happen in life. You'll go through issues. You'll be done checked all the boxes. You did everything you were supposed to do, right? But it'll just be on somebody else's end where there was a mess up, and at that time that person needs to take accountability and fix it. But there's a difference if you ain't did everything you supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? But if you know you're doing everything, that's how it is with God. When you done everything you supposed to do, then now you leave it up to God, right? I did what I was. You say, God, I did what I was supposed to do, right? This man said he read his Bible. Are you still reading your Bible every single day? Did you read it today?
Yeah, read it.
What did you read today?
It's in the Bible.
What did you read? What did you read? What did you read today? Tell me about it. I just want to see. So basically, I was just
Jeremiah
testing out his
3.
Jeremiah 3. I was in Jeremiah. Jeremiah be talking about some real stuff. Now, what did you read about in Jeremiah? Because I was in. I made it all the way to Jeremiah 17. Jeremiah was a prophet. Did you understand what he was saying?
About some would not be land completely defined.
The land was defiled.
Defiled, yeah.
Right. Do you know what that was talking about? Did you
About
understand it?
how how it made up. Something like that.
Did you understand what it meant when it was talking about the land is defiled?
Well,
What'd you get out of it? I'm just trying to see. Did you get something out of it? What made you read it? Is that like a Bible plan, or you just went to it and read it just because?
just most important like a Bible plan.
Just or was it what Bible plan was it?
Um,
You know what this was talking about in Jeremiah 3 was talking about how the God's supposed to be people had turned their back on him. They worship those false idols. Now Jeremiah comes in and says, "Hey, it's just like a harlot." You see, hear that word harlot? A harlot is the same thing as a prostitute or a whore.
just something like declare.
Yeah, that means they turned their back on God. Yeah, declares the Lord. So Jeremiah comes and tries to warn the people, hey, you done turned your back on God. You just like a harlot. You need to lift up your eyes. You need to open up your eyes. This whole land is polluted with wickedness, evil, and wickedness. That's what Jeremiah was talking about. It ain't being no rain. And like now it don't even matter if it rain or not. But back then they needed the rain. You know how I used to have those gardens out there and I had to water my plants and stuff. Well, back then they didn't have like water hoses where they can just go around and water things. They depended on the rain to survive. That was their food. When you read in Jeremiah, that's what happened. They needed that rain because that's how the plants would grow. The tomatoes, whatever, they lived off the land. Right now, you can go to the grocery store and get you something to eat if you're hungry. But back then, they lived off of what they grow and whatever the cows and the chickens, whatever the case may be, the land, everything. I was watching this video. I was watching this TikTok where this man he still live off the land. He killed hogs, raccoons. He had caught a raccoon one day. He squirrels. They skinned the hog down. It show how they skinned the hog down, took the hair off of it,
Mhm.
all of that. Living off the land. Back in those days, those people did not have a grocery store to go to. Those people lived off the land, what they grew. So remember when we used to go out there and grow those cabbages, tomatoes? We'd be out there, right? Y'all would be helping me.
Mhm.
That's how they lived. But we didn't. They didn't have no water hose.
Right.
So if the rain stopped, that means they would starve.
Right.
Let me tell you what it says here. Open it up on your phone so you can read it with me. I just want you to have an understanding. It says, it says right here, lift up thine eyes unto the high places and see where thou hast not been lying with. In the ways hast thou sat for them as the Arabian in the wilderness, and thou hast polluted the land with thy whoredoms and with thy wickedness. Therefore the showers have been withholden, and there have been no latter rain, and thou hast a whore's forehead, thou refusest to be ashamed. The rain was stopped. That means they were gonna starve. Nothing would grow. They don't got no water hoses, right? So wilt thou not from this time cry unto me? At this time, when you know you about to starve to death or something's wrong, God is withholding the rain. Something ought to click and say, "Hey, something's going on here." Like if your let's say for instance, if the money stopped coming to you from your job or you didn't have no money and it was dried up, at this time something ought to say, "Wait a minute, something ain't right in my life. Something's going on here." You know, right?
That happened to me
Did that happen to you? Yeah.
a
So
long time. Yeah.
you got to ask yourself something might be going on here, and God may be trying to get my attention. So what it says here is that will you not cry out to God? Will He reserve His anger forever? Will He keep it to the end? Behold, thou hast spoken and done evil things as thou couldest. So here we go. Now Jeremiah is talking to the people. God is using him as a prophet to speak to the people. He's like, look, God done stopped the rain. You ain't gonna have no food. You know what I'm saying? You gonna dehydrate. You're gonna die. Basically, at this time, you ought to cry out to God and say, "God, save me. God, what have I done wrong?" But as I kept reading in Jeremiah, I found out that the people didn't care. They were stiff necked. They were stubborn. Look, they even heard Jeremiah. And if you hear somebody come to you and say, Amari, like that time when that prophet said, "Hey, somebody's gonna die in your family." They told us somebody was gonna die in our family. At this time, you ought to start got to thinking, try to straighten your life up, turn some things around, get closer to God, because you don't got a prophecy that says something's gonna happen to somebody in your family, and hopefully it won't be you, right?
Mhm.
So the Lord said also unto me in these days of Josiah, the king, hast thou seen that which backsliding Israel have done? So here's
Mhm.
so we talking about the children, we talking about the people that's supposed to be God's people. They
Yeah.
backslided, they went back. She has gone up upon every high mountain and under every green tree, and there have played the harlot.
Yeah.
When you hear that term played the harlot, that means you have been a whore to other gods. That means that you have served other things. Back then, they built these golden images and these statues, and they acted like that was God. They bowed to them. Look, some of them even offered up their own babies. They sacrificed their own babies to those gods and killed them because that's how much they reverence. You reverence a thing to where you will take maybe your only child, but a baby, and you would burn it and kill it and offer it up to the gods, right? That was bad. And I said, after she had done all these things, turned out unto me, but she returned not, and her treacherous sister Judah saw it. And I saw when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away and given her a bill of divorce. Hold up, y'all, I got it. A bill of divorce. Hello, I hope Benjamin's not in trouble. Hmm. I don't. I will call her, but I'm doing something right now. Okay. Yeah. Let me see. What is the number? Hold on. I got it because this. I want you to understand Jeremiah when you read it. I don't understand it that well, but I understand it enough because I've been studying it too. You see what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
want you to understand what Jeremiah was saying in those verses. Hold on, Ben. I'm getting the number for you now. The number is it's 910-797-4265. You got it? Oh, he must have got it and hung up. Okay. Anyway, so what happened was this is Jeremiah talking to the people saying you done backslid. And then it says that, and I saw when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away and given her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also. Here we go. We got we got we got we got Israel, and then we got Judah, and everybody worshiping, everybody doing evil and everything, and they going right along with each other. And it came to pass through the lightness of her whoredom that she defiled the land. Did you say something about defiled the land? Defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and with stocks. And yet for all this her treacherous sister Judah hath not turned unto me with her whole heart, but inly saith the Lord. And the Lord said unto me, the backsliding Israel have justified herself more than treacherous Judah. Go and proclaim these words toward the north and say, return, thou backsliding Israel, saith the Lord, and I will not cause mine anger to fall upon you. So right here, God is saying through Jeremiah that y'all have done wrong. You have done evil. You have to recognize this in turn. I'm giving you a chance. He'll give you a chance. He says, Amari, you're not doing right. Patricia, you're not doing right. Not just Amari, Patricia, anybody. But I give you a chance. You never just in a state of wrongdoing and you can't come back. But you recognize, hey, I need to clean up my life. I need to do better. I need to stop cursing. I need to stop smoking. I need to stop lying. Whatever it is, I need to stop cheating. I need to stop stealing. Whatever it is that you're doing, you realize that. And so God uses Jeremiah to say, go and proclaim these words. Tell the people that if you return back to me, I won't let my anger and my wrath fall upon you. For I am merciful, saith the Lord, and I will not keep anger forever. Here we go. God won't be angry with you forever. He's angry with you for a moment. He punishes you for what you've done. But he ain't like people. And you know how when somebody do something to you and you angry with them for a long time, you can't never get over it. He is a forgiving God. You see what I'm saying? So he says these people have done wrong. They have turned their backs on me. They have backslidden. But now I'm sending Jeremiah to tell them, but you can come back to me. You can return to me. You can repent, get your heart right, turn from these things, right? He said, because I'm merciful, I'm not gonna be angry forever. All you got to do is acknowledge that you was in the wrong. Only acknowledge thine iniquity that thou hast transgressed against the Lord thy God, and hast scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree, and ye have not obeyed my voice, saith the Lord. So here's God. He says, look, all you got to do is just admit you was wrong. Admit you was wrong. That's what he's telling the people. Admit that you ain't had no business offering up your babies to these false gods, worshiping these false idols, building these false statues, and then treating them like they was God, knowing I'm a jealous God. God says I'm a jealous God. And you ever been in a relationship with somebody, right? Say a woman, right? That woman begin to talk to another man. Weren't you a little bit jealous? You didn't like that, did you? So think about it. God is like that too. I'm trying to use an example to show you that He don't want us putting nothing else before Him. That's why sometimes bad things happen in our life. Do you know anything bad that's happened to you in your life? I know several instances that have happened to me. God has punished me for things that I have done. I have lost my children once upon a time, right? I done lost vehicles. I done been homeless. I've had things that happened to me probably because of my disobedience, right? I done went down and had to work my way back up. I had to humble myself. You understand what I'm saying? There's been things. So I told things happened to you. Remember that time that happened to you? Remember that time when somebody tried to rob you or whatever the case? You think about those moments because this is God trying to speak to you and say, hey, if you come back to me, recognize that you've done wrong. This is what he told the people. I'm just using examples. He said, if you obey my voice, yeah, I'm angry with you, but I'm not going to be angry forever. If you turn and come back to the way of right, I'm going to save you. I'm going to be your God. That's what he's looking for. He's looking to be, I'm your God and you'll be my people. People that will obey me, serve me, worship me. This is what happened back in. Look, turn, oh, backsliding children, saith the Lord, for I am married unto you. That's where you get that verse from where it said he's married to the backslider. Backsliding, you done turned your back on God, you worshiping other things, you done put other things before God, drugs, money, fame, sex, whatever it may be. But God says, I'm married to the backslider. And I would take you one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion. Even though you're a backslider, God says, I'm married to you. And if you acknowledge, that's all you got to do is say, you know what, I done messed up. I done listened to such and such. I done listened to this person. I done let them persuade me that a Jehovah Witness is the right way. I done let them persuade me that a Hebrew Israelite is the right way. And now I done messed up because sometimes there's so many different religions out there. This is just really was just a lie, but that you can be blown with every wind and doctrine that's out there. You don't know what to believe because there's so many different people saying so many different things. And I believe this is what happened back in the day. The people, they were delivered from the wilderness. They watched God perform miracles right in front of them. They watched God take care of them as they went through. First, they were slaves. You ain't never been a slave. Your great granddaddy might have been a slave. You ain't never been one. We in the land of freedom. But back then, there was some of us that were slaves that had to listen to what somebody else said, be whipped, beaten, not us, but our ancestors, right? Slaves. That's how the children of Israel, they were slaves. They had to work for Pharaoh until God sent Moses. Moses said, look, I can't speak that way. I believe Moses might have been a little bit like you. That's how I know God can use anybody. I don't know what state Moses was in, but he had a speech impediment. Did he not? He couldn't speak. God had to send his brother Aaron to help him. So you got to send somebody to help you. That's how I know no matter what your condition is, my son, he can't really articulate. He can speak, but he can't really articulate his words as clearly. That's okay. He's autistic. But that's why I have to help him, and I come up here to give these teaching moments because they help, and it might help somebody else that has a child that's going through a similar issue. You got to have patience. You got to break things down a little more to them because they can learn, they can do things, but it just takes time. And a lot of times people don't have the time to say, "But I ain't got time to be trying to teach you this, boy. You need to know this." But you got to stop, take time, and teach them, right? So I'm breaking this down what he read in Jeremiah because I want him to have an understanding. When you read it, you heard it defiled the land. You didn't know what that means. But what does defiled the land mean? What does that mean to you now? When they defiled the land, what does that mean? They did something what? They did something they was not. See that? There you go. They did something they was not supposed to do. They defiled the land. They dishonored God. That land was given to them. I believe because when God says, I promise you a land flowing with milk and honey, right? We go back and we read, God says, look, if you just obey my voice, trust me, serve me, I'm going to take you from this slavery because the people were in slavery. You remember when they talked about like the different plagues? You remember that? Like back in the beginning of the Bible where they talked about the plague, the water turned to blood, the firstborn was killed, the frogs, remember that, and all of that stuff. So at this time, this is God trying to use Moses to deliver the children of Israel from bondage. After he had delivered them, and then especially if I was there and I seen that Red Sea part, you ever been to on a cruise or to the ocean, to the beach? You seen that big ocean? You mean to tell me there was a sidewalk made through the middle of the ocean where two walls of water were up on each side where you could just walk right through it? God did that and delivered you, and then after you got through there, the water all crashed back down and drowned all the Pharaoh's people. So you seen God perform miracles, and then He took you through that wilderness. And the only reason why those people went through the wilderness that long was because of their mindset, because they wanted to go back. They began to complain. That's why we got to be careful about complaining. You know. Now I know I ain't trying to take up all your time, right? Let me get through. I wanted you to have an understanding of this. So when they say defiled the land, that means they did. That's right. They did something they weren't supposed to do. That land that God promised them. once they got over there. Then he even waited until the older ones died off because of their mindset. And the younger, when they got to that land, they began to mingle with different people that were doing ungodly things. And man, it was a place in there where they said that they didn't care, they weren't sorry about what they did. They had forgot all about what God had done for them, and they just began to just do whatever. And Jeremiah was there telling them, "Hey, you need to turn from this. You need to do this," and they just didn't even hear it. They didn't care. At this time, they didn't care. Right? Look here. I'm think I'm almost. So when God said, "I'm married to the backslider," and then He says in 15, "And I will give you pastors according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding." That's why our pastors are important. They're just people like us. They make mistakes. They're human, but they feed us with knowledge. They feed. That's when you go to church. You hear the word of God. That's you get knowledge inside. The things you hear, you store that. You take it and you keep it for life, because it will save your life. It really would. And it shall come to pass when you be multiplied and increased in the land in those days, saith the Lord. They shall say no more, the ark of the covenant of the Lord, neither shall it come to mind, neither shall they remember it, neither shall they visit it, neither shall that be done anymore. At that time, they shall call Jerusalem the throne of the Lord, and all the nations shall be gathered unto it to the name of the Lord to Jerusalem. Neither shall they walk anymore after the imagination of their evil heart. In those days, the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come out together. They shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance unto your fathers. But I said, how shall I put thee among the children and give thee a pleasant land, a goodly heritage of the host of the nations? And I said, thou shalt call me my father, and shalt not turn away from me. Surely as a wife treacherously departed from her husband, so have ye dealt treacherously with me. Now let me tell you this. When it says when if something talks about something dealing treacherously with you, that means that you done me wrong. You know what I'm saying? You done treated me horrible. Sometimes we treat God bad. Sometimes we forget about him, right? When you get up in the morning, you pray, you read your Bible every day, whether you in here or you somewhere else, because you want to keep God first. You don't want God to say to you, "You have dealt with me treacherously." You don't want him to say, "You forgot about me." It's not saying that you're perfect, but you acknowledge him, you acknowledge your wrong, you ask him to forgive you, and you try to do better, right? Because you don't want to just be like these people. These people here, they just forgot about him. I'm talking about, I believe, I may be right, I may be right. I believe that if you still had him in your heart, if you still prayed to him and said, "Man, I got to get myself out of this thing, whatever it is, I got to do better," he wouldn't feel this way. But it was the people that didn't care. They didn't acknowledge that they had no type of. There was a place where it said they didn't have no shame. They didn't have no shame. It says a voice was heard upon the high places, weeping and supplications of the children of Israel, for they have perverted the way, and they have forgotten the Lord their God. Return, ye backsliding children, and I will heal your backslidings. Behold, we come unto thee, for thou art the Lord our God. Truly in vain is salvation hoped for from the hills and from the multitude of the mountains. Truly, and the Lord our God is the salvation of Israel. For shame hath devoured the labor of our fathers from our youth, their flocks and their herds, their sons and their daughters. We lie down in our shame, and our confusion covereth us. For we have sinned against the Lord our God, and we and our fathers from our youth, even unto this day, have not obeyed the voice of the Lord our God. So in Jeremiah 3, they're talking about how the people were so disobedient, rebellious. They forgot all about God. They didn't even acknowledge God. They didn't acknowledge their wrongs. But there had to be a place where they said, "You know what, we done wrong." There was a place in the Bible back in the day. I had put a post up. People used to walk around with sackcloth and ashes on, and that was an outward appearance of their shamefulness. Today we wouldn't put on no sackcloth and ashes because that's dirty. You ever had seen some ashes, like from a fire or from some paper being burnt? And then when you touch them ashes, as them ashes get on your clothes, you gonna have white marks everywhere, right? But the people when they were sorry for a thing and they had done wrong in the sight of God, or they went, or in times of mourning when they were crying out to God, like, God, what has I done to deserve this? They put on sackcloth and ashes. You know what a sackcloth is? One of them, you know, them little I'm trying to think. It's like one of them terry cloth things, kind of like a stretchy material. They put on sackcloth and they put on ashes because that symbolized that they had done wrong. They were sorry. A lot of times we don't have to do that now, but if we did it, it might give us an inward appearance that, hey, we're sorry. Because a lot of times when we've done wrong in the sight of God, we're not sorry. All we do, oh God, I'm sorry, and we move on. But but when you be dirty before the Lord and you show humility, when you put on them sackcloth and ashes, I'm sure everybody know you had done wrong. You know what I'm saying? He got on sackcloth and ashes. He done shaved all his hair off. They told me that I think Job shaved his head. There was places where people shave. Imagine if you had to shave all your hair off because you're trying to show it, and then people be like, "What? Maury done shaved all his hair off?" Right? It's because that was a show that you were trying to change and be different, that you were sorry. You see what I'm saying? So the people would put on sackcloth and ashes. When Jeremiah, it says that in Jeremiah, it talked about how the shame have devoured the labor of our fathers. You're supposed to lie down in shame. You have sinned against the Lord. But 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 like he said, we going to the floor. But if you will return, he's using Jeremiah to say, but guess what? I keep telling you that you're not lost. What if you had a sentence that said you won't die because you done wrong? But then God says, but if you return, if you come back, if you repent, if you acknowledge, guess what? I will put away your abominations out of. I won't even remember what you did. I won't throw it up in your face no more. That you cursed, that you lied, that you cheated. But I will put those things away, and then shalt thou not remove. He'll get it out of his sight. He said, and then you swear that the Lord liveth in truth and in judgment and in righteousness, and nations shall bless themselves in him, and he shall be their glory. For thus saith the Lord to the men of Judah and Jerusalem, break up your fallow ground and sow not among thorns. I'm gonna go there. In our heart right here, it's hardened. We're stubborn, and we already got it set in our minds that we're gonna do things this certain way. Break up the fallow ground. That means your heart can't stay the way it always had. That's why David said, create in me a clean heart. Because our heart is not clean. Jeremiah, if you keep reading it, you reading Jeremiah, you're gonna read it like one chapter each day. Keep reading in Jeremiah. Jeremiah says that the heart is desperately wicked. I have been studying that. From our heart derives our feelings. That's where we feel at. That's where wisdom is. Another place in the Bible that said wisdom comes from the heart. So in our heart is where our feelings are, is where we make decisions. It's what's on the inside of us. It's because what's in you is gonna come out. So whatever's in your heart, and you got to ask God to create in you a clean heart. Ezekiel said, "Give me a heart of flesh." Why? Because the heart that we have now is desperately wicked. That's where your evil intentions are. If you haven't gotten them out of you, the things you want to do that you know aren't right, they stem from your heart because it's what's in you. You see what I'm saying? That's the reason why, as you read in Jeremiah, if you want me to help you understand it, I've been studying it too. But right here, God is using Jeremiah as a prophet, and a prophet is somebody. You know what a prophet is? Remember we talked about it in what's a prophet? It's somebody that God uses to speak for him, through him. God uses that person to send a message or to speak the words that he has said. That's why I keep saying, declare ye in Judah. He said, Jeremiah, tell them this. And he says, go announce it from the north, from the east, from the south, and from the west. Because I need you to make sure the people know that you got to turn from your ways. And if you don't, there's going to be my wrath. He keeps telling Jeremiah to say, but I'm angry, but I'm not going to be angry forever. And if you change your ways, you can come back to me and serve me. And I'll forget all about It's what it says here. I will forget all about your abominations. That means I'll forget about all the wrong you've done, the things you've done wrong. Right? I'll put it away out of my sight. And then you just serve me. You know what I'm saying? That's what Jeremiah 4 is about. I mean, 3 is about. You understand now? You defiled the land. You know, this land that I'm supposed to be giving to you, you done defiled it. You done just, this land was supposed to be sacred. It's supposed to be a place where I can dwell in, right? But you done defiled it. And you done made it a place of your own. That's what he was telling the people. But I'm gonna see how this video. Y'all let me know how this video worked out because I really just came on to test it, and then I just began to talk. But this is that's some real stuff. That's some real deep stuff, ain't it? And then your heart, you got to check your heart because Jeremiah said, God used Jeremiah to say that it's desperately wicked. That's why all the evil intentions, motives. Sometimes it's your aspirations. It's when you get mad at somebody and you wondering why you want to respond in this way because it's stems from your heart, and you got to allow God to create in you. That's why you got. That's why David said, "Created me a clean. My heart ain't right. People have hurt me. I want to do things to them. You know, my heart ain't right, but I want to have a heart. I want to have a new heart, creating me a clean heart. I don't want to have these evil thoughts, intentions, and ways. Paul said that I want to do good, but evil is always present around me. There's always a battle going on between the flesh and the spirit, and it'll forever be one. There's a war. I believe it was that Paul said there's a war within my members, right? That's why there's one side of you that wants to do good, do the right thing. There's the other side that says, let me do what I want to do. And that's how these people was. After a while, they ain't want to hear nothing else Jeremiah had to say. But I try to get it. So if a prophet say something to me or my family, I'm taking heed. Whoa, let me see y'all. Let me examine myself. Let me check some things. Let me pray a little bit more to God to help me because I don't want to just get to the place and be like those people where they didn't hear. It ain't keep reading in Jeremiah. They won't it said they didn't. They won't ashamed. And that's something else. When you have done wrong, you're not ashamed of it. You don't got no type of conviction about it. That's a problem. You ought to be sorry and you ought to be ashamed. I'm ashamed of what I've done, what I've said, how I've acted. It ought to have an effect on you. You ought to say, God, help me. You ought to be able to go back to people and say, you know what, the way I acted, I'm sorry about that. I was totally out of line. You ought to have some type of shame, some type of conviction that'll make you go back and say, y'all, please forgive me. That wasn't right. But I'm working on it. I'm asking God to work on me. And after a while, I'm gonna pass the test. That'll be what you say. I might not have passed it this time. That's another thing on my own. I didn't pass the test this time. Sometimes, but I say, Holy Spirit, teach me. Yes. Holy Spirit, teach me. So when you get to that place to where God is using somebody to speak to you and say, hey, get it together, what's going on? The prophet get up and speak to the church. You better take those when the prophet or somebody say, hey, I just got to say it. You better open up your ears and take heed to this. Don't be like those people and just didn't hear, didn't see, didn't care, didn't respond, didn't bow down and pray. Nothing. They just continued on in the imagination, what it said, in the imagination of their own evil, selfish ways, selfish hearts. Whatever they wanted to do in their heart. And we can't never get to that place. All right. All right. You got anything else you want to say?
I do really appreciate y'all for telling them my understanding is,
You gotta have an understanding.
make it
Make it
make it
understandable,
yeah
right?
make it
Make it
understandable.
understandable. It helps to have an understanding.
God will make a way.
God
But at
will
all
make a way.
times, I think I appreciate it.
All right. Okay, y'all. Y'all have a blessed day.